Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of the Millennials and Money podcast. This is episode number 5. We're here with you the month of March, and we're so excited that you're joining us. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. So welcome everybody to the show. I'm Ahmad Scott, licensed financial professional and affiliate of Millennials and Money, and I'm joined here to my left by
Cassandra Williams, also a licensed financial.
all night with you guys for episode number 5 as we talk about a little bit of everything, honestly. But Cassandra, how's it been going? It is March, right?
So it is.
Pisces
and the last
season.
the last time we saw each other, it was going into Valentine's.
Yes.
And we were talking about couples saving or not saving and how finances affect each other or how we start talking about it. So today we are talking about lots of awareness for a month of March, right?
Yes. So, yes, like you said, the last time we were together, we saved the young couple's relationship. I was able to give them some sound, solid advice on what you should do for Valentine's Day. But it's March, it's Pisces season. Shout out to all the Pisces out there, myself, my daughter. Hey. So, also, we want to talk about Women's History Month, right?
Yes, that's right. There are a lot of women that have made some positive marks in our society. And we actually have 2 remarkable women that we have affiliations with, LaShonda Johnson and Tony Sanders, the founders of the Houston Housewives of Finance and the parent companies of Millennials and Money, Secure Seniors, Men and Money,
yes.
And just creating a phenomenal platform for everyone of all ages and creating diversity with how we approach finances, having a phenomenal foundation in how we deal with our finances, and also just being able to present ourselves in several different events and walks of life.
So there are definitely phenomenal women, Tony Sanders, the co-founders, Tony Sanders and LaShonda Johnson, for, like you said, giving us this platform. So thank you, ladies. And it is their birthday, right? They just celebrated 3 years as a brand.
3 years, yes. Happy birthday to us.
You gotta
we're in this.
You got to give them the Stevie Wonder version. Happy birthday. Okay. So
happy birthday to us.
Right. So, but yes, I want to give a shout out to Miss Tony Sanders. You can find her tomorrow, March 8th, 10 to 1 o'clock at the International Women's Celebration. She'll be there. So go to her Facebook page, go to her Instagram. You can find Tony Sanders Finances. So look her up on those stations, as well as LaShonda Johnson, right?
Absolutely. You can find LaShonda also on Instagram and Facebook. They're always showing us how to shine and giving us an awesome platform.
Correct.
And the foundation to say, hey, we're women and we know our money and we can help you know your money as well.
So we appreciate that. So what do you guys have going on, speaking of powerful women and women in business, as the Housewives brand? What do you guys have going on recently or upcoming?
Right. So speaking of women, we are actually moving into the men's realm of the NBA.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So we have the Housewives of Orlando. Is that the Orlando Housewives of Finance?
Yes.
They're actually pairing up with
the Orlando Magic.
The Orlando Magic versus the Chicago Bulls. And then you can also, and that's March 30th. And in LA, you can find LaShonda and I in LA for the LA Clippers versus the Denver Nuggets on April 7th. And we will be speaking with the Clippers and various other members that are coming about the workshops and how to save their money.
That is huge. Like, yeah. I don't think the audience understood that, or they really heard that the Houston Housewives of Finance affiliate, the Orlando Housewives of Finance, have secured a spot with presenting our information, providing financial literacy to the Orlando Magic, and everyone who's going to be attending the game will have the opportunity to come out to the clubhouse and hear that information. And then
going to the next coast,
right,
to Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, so you guys will be in LA at the Clippers Nuggets game, giving information to the LA Clippers as well as the fans, and those will be coming out joining you. Like, that is huge. If we can get a round of applause for the financial Houston Housewives of Finance and the phenomenal women that are part of it. That is really big for the brand and for financial literacy as a whole, as we try to,
that's right,
go ahead and eradicate financial illiteracy in our nation.
That's right. And also leading into that, with speaking about phenomenal women who are making a presence with the LA Clippers, we also have a brand out there that many of us may know. The brand Bumble is also providing a new dating app to people, to women, where we take the first step and taking control of our love lives. Right. And so what I learned, I just actually saw this today, is they have paired up with the Clippers and they're showing their brand, and they are they're making the first move. And so there is 85% of women in this all women, or not all women, but a very strong women's led brand. And 85% of this company are women. So that's pretty strong. We have a very strong presence. And as we've learned, a lot of corporations are starting to really realize that women are not just there to buy and be families, but we're also there to be leaders and have a presence, because the money is where we are spending, and we need to know how to spend it, and we also need to learn how to save it.
And that's really cool that the Clippers are hooking up with Bumble. As you know, the NBA wears the sponsorship logos. So if you watched the Clippers game last night, they had the Bumble logo on there. But the thing about the Clippers is they have a female, one of their presidents, and a large percentage of the operations for the Clippers organization are run by women. So that's a really good partnership that the Clippers have.
It definitely
and to welcome Bumble in. But let's go back into this app. So you're saying that women take the first step, right? Usually on men out there, they shoot their shot and they try to slide in the DMs. But now is women going to be flipping the script on men? Is that what you're telling me?
Right, because there are a lot of women, and we need our voice being heard, and we need to lead our lives. We lead our lives in love, we lead our lives in money, and we have a voice, and we need to know how to use it. And so we have platforms that are now given to us that we're able to use, which is very exciting. So with that being said, when we're starting to pair, people are really recognizing that this is something that we're able to really be the face of. So it's quite an exciting opportunity that we have.
That is remarkable. So right now we're going to take a time for a brief second for you guys to go ahead and follow us everywhere that you actually check out anyways, right? If you're on Facebook, we're at Millennials and Money with the $, Millennials, and Money on Facebook. You can always look up our hashtag Milli2Milli. On Instagram, we're Millennials_and_money on Instagram. We're on Meetup. We're just about everywhere that you can find us, and as well as you can email us, right? You should have it should be popping up. The email is info@millennialsmoney.com is where you can email us in, or call us at 1-844-700-4463 if you want to give us a call. But our email box is always full with people asking several questions, getting financial tips, asking for advice, and how they can find us and schedule a one-on-one consultation. So what we do here at Millennials and Money is that we provide financial education to millennials, but we also cross over into Generation X, baby boomers if need be, so that we can provide you with that financial education. We give it through our workshops, through our social events, as well as through one-on-one consultations. So you can contact myself, Cassandra, or any of the other Millennials and Money affiliates to go ahead and schedule that one-on-one consultation, as well as we do groups. So if you have your church, you want to sit down with your whole family, Cassandra specializes in those type of things, right? She's very good at that, sitting down with your whole family and educating you guys all at once. That is definitely something that we do and you want to take a part of. So go ahead and follow us on social media and send us an email, give us a call so that you can get yourself financially educated. Because our mission is, again, to eradicate financial illiteracy through our millennial generation. We are the largest in the U.S. history. So if it starts with us, we're definitely going to see a change in this world.
That's right.
So that's something we want to do. But speaking of women's history, I had a young lady, a friend of mine. She's in the oil and gas industry, right? And as you know, you may see the gas prices fluctuating out there. And so that's an industry that's pretty pretty popping, right? You're going to need people in there. And they're having layoffs. Say they're nervous about going to work. You speak to somebody at the water cooler one day, and then you come back for lunch and you want to have lunch with them, and they're not there. Their desk is empty, whatever. They have a box on there. So companies, as we finding out, are doing layoffs, not because they're losing money or business is not booming, but to recoup that money and save more.
Right. Well, just even to say that they're laying people off, they're giving people a heads up that they're going to be off, and they're giving them some very hefty severance packages.
Okay.
And so that just means that we are out here working really hard for people, or these companies, not people, they're companies. And unfortunately, we are easily replaced. They are outsourcing our jobs. And so you think you have a job one day, you think you have a retirement savings set up and you're saving in it. But then the next thing you know, you don't have any more savings, or you don't have the proper savings saved up so you can actually protect yourself in these times, or an emergency fund. And so what ends up happening is we realize that there's more jobs out there that are being taken over by robots, or they're doing more with less people, or the same with less people. And I think the more astounding part is they're giving people 3 and 4 months severance packages of what their salary is. And what that says is, if you're giving me 3 or 4 months off, basically,
correct,
how much money are you saving by giving me money to go away to outsource it? And you're not just doing it to me, you're doing it to branches, you're doing it to, a group of employees that are now without a job, and in an industry that is booming. Like you said, the gas prices are going up, or they're fluctuating, and you see the stocks are going up and they're fluctuating. So there's people out there that are, they're not having jobs, but still there's people out there who are making very great incomes.
Correct.
And sometimes you realize, hey, you know what? I thought I was making a good enough income, until you're not. And then you're trying to figure out how ends meet. And so with our workshops, we also teach you how to actually build your proper financial house. You have to protect yourself. You have to manage your debt. You have to have the proper emergency fund.
Yeah, that's so true. If we can go to our article here, it's from the Inc.com, the Inc. magazine. And the article is why more companies are operating lean even when they can afford to hire. So speaking to what Cassandra was saying, that its data shows that fast-growing companies are hiring fewer people even as revenue swells. Despite the warm feelings generated by creating jobs, employees are a cost, like you said, right? If they can afford to send you away with a severance package of 3 to 4 months of your salary, they can afford to keep you for a little bit longer if they're laying off several branches. So this goes to show you that, guys, you don't sign a lifetime contract with your employer, right? You can be released at any time. And if you're in Texas, and there's certain states out there that's an at-will state, meaning they can let you go without giving you probable cause. Like, you don't have to be late or be a habitual rule breaker. It's at will. They can let you go the same way as you can leave at any time. So you need to be aware of that, and you need to be prepared. If we go to our Blue Book, and you guys are like, Blue Book, you guys need to have this book. Again, contact us right now. Email us at info@millennialsandmoney.com. Hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or wherever you can, so you can get your hands on this book, so we can send you this book. But this goes from our Saving Your Future book, and we're on page 6. So if you scroll down to the Financial Foundation, you'll see what Cassandra was saying. If you want to go back through our Financial Foundation again for us, Cassandra.
Right. So the Financial Foundation is about how to adequately prepare yourself for the future. A lot of us don't prepare for the future until it's here, and unfortunately it's too late. And so you need to build your house from the bottom up. You need to protect your money, and then you have to manage your debt. You want to own more of your money than you have to pay out, because you want to start and make sure that you have an adequate emergency fund. So when these random layoffs happen, or should someone need you, or should you actually have an occurrence in life, then you are able to take care of it without having to dip into your other realms of, buckets of money that you may have. And then at the top of the house, you have investments. But unfortunately, as we find out, a lot of people get really overzealous about jumping into the investment market, and they don't realize that there is a lot of risk. absolutely nothing is wrong with it. But if you never had that proper foundation of protection built, then all those other things don't even matter, because your protection, you don't have a floor. And so what we really do and encourage is we go out in the field and we speak with you about making sure that you have all of these different areas covered and that you do have the proper protection for your home, which is your financial house.
So if you see what she's talking about, a lot of people want to start with the investments. If you go back to the slide, please, they build their house upside down. So you see how big protection is, and it's actually a pyramid. So if you're building it the upside down, you want to start with investments, right? As we know, it's refund season. A lot of people feel as though they have this extra money. They have money that they can go ahead and invest. Actually, when they need to start at the bottom, make sure they have proper protection, right? Not just protection, but the right amount, proper protection. If you're unsure what proper protection is, this is another opportunity for you to educate yourself through the Millennials and Money so that we can actually explain what proper protection is, and you can know your number. It is very important that you know your number, and that number is how much do I need for proper protection in case untimely or premature death happens to myself or someone in my family. Am I properly covered, right? You want to know what that number is, how much you need for retirement. And we'll talk about retirement a little bit later in the show. But that's something that us as millennials need to think a little bit more about, that we build our house properly. So we don't want to start investments like, oh, what can I invest in? I know the popular thing is the cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and things like this. But it's okay to get in on those trends if your financial foundation is set up properly, right? If you start with the protection.
But then even beyond that, an investment can also be known as a 401k.
Yes.
You're just being told what to do, but you haven't considered the risk. Nothing is wrong with it. However, if you reach out to one of us as a financial professional, we would be able to walk you through with really what the proper amounts are that you should invest in it and how you can manage your debt and save for that emergency fund. Because even as millennials, how long are you going to be in that job? How long is it that you're going to have a job and you say, hey, I can do it, but you still have, a long life to live, and there's still a lot of dreams that need to be funded. It's not enough that we just say, hey, I want to do this, which is also why it's really exciting that we have this platform of being women and, young folks that have a platform and support behind us, that we can be our own money managers. And we have learned a lot of information, and it's viable, and it is for everyone of every age, and it's teachable and learnable for everyone that we come across. And so as people are coming out of these jobs, hey, I don't know what to do. I thought I had this set up properly, and they find out that they don't. However, it's never too late, because we still have more life to live and we still have money to make. We just need to learn how to grow it and how to protect it.
Correct. And these are uncertain economic times, so that should intensify the need for financial education, for learning what you don't know. And a lot of times we don't know what we don't know. We don't know that we should have a proper budget, and you can budget in just about anything for your daily life. So don't feel as though it's restricted to something, it's very rigid or something. Budgets are very flexible. So that is definitely something that we teach and the information that we provide. So we very, very importantly stress the fact that you want to come out and get a financial consultation with myself or Cassandra or any of the Millennials and Money that are affiliated. So that's definitely something that we want to do, right?
Right, absolutely. So with the next topic.
Yeah, so we have a did you know, right? So we have a lot of a did you knows. So we'll pop up a did you know right here, right? So it said, did you know about 77 million Americans, or 35% of adults with credit history, have debt in collections. So what that means is that if you have established your self-credit, you have a credit card, that you're paying in the arrears, that your accounts are not up to date, that someone's calling your phone asking for money that you promised that you would pay. And that is definitely not something that we want to keep rolling over that debt constantly, right?
Not only is it just dangerous that you have incurred all of this debt that you can't pay, but even when you are able to pay it, going back to you're not owning the income that you have. And with that, it's like, well, again, you can't become a part of that statistic that, hey, I'm laid off, and then you find it acceptable to not pay your bills, because all of a sudden you put your credit in jeopardy for when you do want to make a big purchase. But it's just as dangerous for you to be over your credit limit or to be right at your credit limit. And so with that, you really need to be mindful of how much you spend. And as like Ahmad said, we're getting these refunds back, and we go out and we spend on more things that are on our wish list. But guess what? Those shoes, those clothes, there's a whole slew of things that we decide that we want to spend on that is not going to fund your retirement. And that's really what we want to look at this rate, because I'm coming across too many people that find that when they want to look at their retirement or when they get laid off, they go through that couple of $1,000s that they thought was adequate enough. And even with people who think that they had $1,000 or $4,000, $10,000, and even when you find someone that has $40,000, that is not enough to make it through 6 months, because you still have rent, you still have a car note, and you really have to think about it, let alone now your credit has gone,
to the tank, right?
Thank you.
It's basically
Thank you so much.
Your credit is basically in the toilet. Yeah.
Right. But then on top of that, you're beyond your credit line. You're beyond what you can actually pay for in life. And it becomes a very stressful situation.
Yes. And this did you know is very important in terms of credit card and in terms of debt. Because as we find out that credit card debt starts in high school. Nowadays, there's high schoolers with walking around with credit card and accumulating credit card debt. They have credit cards in their name. That is just crazy. My first credit card, I got a freshman year of college that I shouldn't have got it because I wanted a smoothie. It was one of those sign up. It was at Smoothie King right outside of campus. It was like sign up and you get a discount on a smoothie. Of course I'm going to sign up. But those things like that, when you're not educated and you don't know about it, you don't know about paying it off in full, not just paying a minimum amount, you get yourself into that rat race, and you're just a vicious cycle of keep trying to catch up, and you're trying to catch up, and you're trying to catch up. And as you said earlier, when you need it, you don't have it. You're like, oh, I have $1,000 here. Something hits you, and now you need $2,000,
right,
and you didn't properly prepare for it.
Right. And so even with getting credit cards before you're even able to really manage money, is swiping makes it so easy. Right. It makes it really hard
to say. Guilt-free, right?
Yeah, it's guilt-free. It's virtual. You don't know how much money you really have or you don't have until you don't have it. And then at that rate, you're like, okay, well, now I won't get it. But you still owe someone money. And if you didn't have it to begin with, then the probability of you having it when it's time for that bill to come, you won't have it. And then the interest rates are astronomical, especially when you are someone who's just now getting credit cards, because they're enticing you with, even though it's a low amount of money, because you haven't quite built up that credit, that credit limit. Mm-hmm. But they're also saying, okay, hey, we're going to give you this $500, $1,000 at 18%, but you haven't really accounted into your budget, not only how you're going to pay it, but if you can ever pay it off, depending on what your income is. And because there is not enough conversation of how we actually spend and how money really is flowing in our pockets. And on top of that, we're just not being taught this education in school, which is why it's so important to come to our workshops and learn about this, because it is not too late to come out of this pit. And you say, well, I don't make enough money. I have too much credit out there. It exceeds my income.
Correct.
Well, you know what? I was there too. And then I started learning all of these things, and I say, hey, why don't more people know this? Why don't you know this? Why don't my friends know this? Why don't these kids know it? Why wasn't I taught this? Because we don't have enough people out there that are talking about it. And again, that needs to be the new water cooler talk. And you reach us, we can reach out back to you, and we can talk to you one-on-one, come to our classes, our workshops, and, we'll make it happen. I mean, finances are not that intimidating.
So where can they find you? If you can give your email and your social info for everyone to find you, Cassandra.
Yeah, so I am on Facebook and on Instagram, Cassandra Williams. My first name is Cassandra, Kasinda. And last name is Williams on Facebook and on Instagram. And then my email address, cassandra.williams@gmail.com. And if you want to find me in person, I can also be at our financial institution every Tuesday and Saturday, Tuesday 7 to 9, where we have our workshops at 2500 East TC Jester.
Yes.
In Houston.
Houston, 7708. So what Cassandra was saying, Cassandra does our one of our workshops where we talk about going through credit. We talking about knowing your number and eliminating that debt, right? And knowing exactly what you have available to you. So if you don't know what you have available, right, we talk about cash is king. That should be number one. If you're walking around with cash and if you properly budget yourself, then you'll know how it feels, right? Everybody hates breaking the 20. You'll ask somebody like, hey, you have, at the grocery store, you ask, hey, you got a nickel? You have to, because you don't want to break that 20 because what's the rule? Once you break it, it's gone.
You break it and it's gone. It doesn't matter if it's $1 or $5. It's like, oh, I had some money because all of a sudden it becomes very insignificant and it is no longer okay just to stick it in a piggy bank either. So we're caught between, okay, well, you don't take cash out, but then you don't use a credit card, but you have to have that blueprint and that map set up to understanding what you have and where you're going and not just living for today.
Yeah, so if you watched our last episode, Millennials and Money, we had Yancy, we had Regina, and they had a very successful entrepreneur, Fred, on. And Fred was telling you he had a very important line where he said that your credit card is not a loan. Right? You're like, I'm going to loan it from my credit card and then I'll pay it back. If you don't have the money in your checkings account to pay it immediately, pay it in full, right? You can use that to build up your credit. You buy something with your credit card and then you pay it off in full to go ahead and have that build up your credit. But if you're just going to loan from it, I don't have it, so I'll just take it from my credit card. When will you have it? That's the question. So if you can't answer that question, I'll have it at this time, right? You don't want to do the whole rob Peter to pay Paul where I take some from here and then I'm neglecting over there. So your credit card shouldn't be used for just swiping, at any time. It's for a real life emergencies and when you have the money set aside and you available to you. So if you haven't seen the last episode 4 with Yancy, Regina, and they had a special guest, Fred, on from the Beaumont, Port Arthur area, check us out on YouTube. We have all 4 episodes available there, right? Subscribe to Millennials and Money podcast on YouTube. You can find our channel there. That's right. And you can watch all the videos over and over and over again until you become your own money manager. But we really do suggest that you come out to our workshops. Like Cassandra said, we have it Tuesday at 7 p.m. as well as Saturday at 10 a.m. Right now, we're operating out of the 2500 East TC Jester, Houston in the Heights. We get a lot of emails with people saying, well, hey, I'm in Oklahoma. I'm in St. Louis. I'm on the East Coast. How can you guys help me? How can you assist me? If you contact us and you want to go out to one of our workshops there, we can give you the information to a local office. We're nationwide, as well as in Canada. So contact us there. And if you want to have that one-on-one consultation with one of the members of Millennials and Money, then we exercise the use of technology, right? There's the Zoom calls. There's several web meetings in which we can conduct that one-on-one with you, and it's very personal. You see us, you hear us, and then we share the information. We share our screen so that you can see everything that we have available. So there's no excuses, absolutely none, why you shouldn't have your finances in order, right?
That's right. And then obviously, as you heard, we're coming to you coast to coast. We have the ladies from California, in Orlando, in Virginia, obviously here in Texas, and we are building and we are growing and we are just on this campaign trail to educate and to help people across the United States truly understand it, because it's unfortunate that, the American way really is to just be in debt, to be a consumer, to say how much you have, but no one thinks about how to keep it. And if you're even ready to have that much. Yeah. I mean, even thinking about, you can afford a certain size of a home, but you don't know, like later on down life, if you can afford it now, but you also have to say, okay, I have other things that I want to save for.
Again, we just found out that they're laying people off when they don't have to, so things are uncertain. You don't want to
always uncertain.
Exactly. You don't want to. Okay, I'm at my threat. This is the most that I can afford, and I'm gonna get. I'm going to squeeze the most out of what I have, and you're unable to really build up that emergency fund, really build up your savings. And if, unfortunately, you get one of those calls or you're told that you're laid off, the severance package for 3 or 6 months really won't last you that long. So now you're scrambling, and now you're
especially if you already weren't expecting to be off.
Man.
And then if you don't know how to manage it, you're thinking, oh yay, I'm going to go on a vacation.
Right? It's spring break's coming up. You got these
spring
things
break
planned.
Or if you were laid off during the holidays, you think now you can just do extra spending, and then you still have to take care of the regular
Maintain yourself,
things,
correct.
such as rent. Rent takes a huge chunk of our, finances. We don't go buy a place based off of being economically,
which we should do.
Right.
Again.
Being very conservative. We say, hey, I can afford this, therefore this is where I'm going to live. But unfortunately, we get laid off and we can't afford anything at that rate, but we have ourselves in a very upside down, uncomfortable situation. And then let alone then you go and mess up your credit, you're really put in a bad situation. And then you're left to go and find a job that still isn't going to pay for it. And as Ahmad said, there's a lot of jobs that are becoming automated. And so when kids I just aged myself.
What?
But when but seriously, like when you're 15, 16 years old, you used to be able to go to the grocery store, used to be able to be a bagger or be a checker or go to the movie theater.
Correct.
You're no longer able to do that. They have auto or check stands that you could check yourselves out. You have the movie theaters where you buy your own ticket, or you just buy it off of Fandango.
Well, some grocery stores now, it's you bag yourself. Either they don't have bags, you bring your own bag, or
Right.
the cashier bags it. So they're cutting down. And now if Amazon has their way, they have the grocery store, the Whole Foods, to where it's no employees. You check out on your phone. You do everything that's absolutely crazy, right?
And then in California, they don't even have really any baggers anymore, because guess what? They're charging you per bag, or you bring
Yes.
your own bag. And so if you don't have any bags to bag your stuff in, you put it in a cart. That's for the consumer to do. And then they're closing down Toys R Us. They're closing down, what else? Sears, Macy's. I mean, they were already closing stores down for a long time, but now it's starting to have an uptick, and people are doing more internet online shopping, which says, hey, again, your first job is no longer going to be Macy's or, going to Toys R Us. It is now going to be, hey, I'm just going to school. And so managing money, just a little bit that you may get your paycheck, you may not get this lesson until after college. And so again, this is why it's really important that we're going to community colleges, and we're saying, hey, you're young, you're gifted, but guess what? We're broke out here. And it used to be broke just because we didn't have enough money. But unfortunately, we're to the point where we don't have any money. And then if you get in some places where it's almost impossible to live without a roommate, then it's like, okay, so now you're just trying to live, and then now we're talking to you about retirement. But guess what? We really can help you with all of these different solutions, because we were there, we understand, we know, and we're out here in these streets.
Yeah,
talking to people.
It's getting to the point to where you have to learn a trade. You have to become an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Right. It's opening the
That's where the gifted part comes in.
Yeah.
People are getting creative
Yes.
in other ways of taking how they can make money and how they're able to sustain themselves without having a boss. But then how do you prepare for retirement?
Yeah. So, all right, we have another Did You Know? If you can go to our next Did You Know. It's like, did you know the number of consumers aged 60 and older with student loan debt has quadrupled over the last decade? So you're thinking, like, who in their 60s or older is going back to school? A lot of people are going back to school, but it's also those students who their parents take out a loan for them so that they can complete school. So now when you don't finish school, or you decide to leave early, your parents are still left holding the bag. Or if you had someone co-sign for you and you default on it, they're still left holding the bag. Or you get out of school and you decide, I'm not going to pay Sally Mae. I'm going to take my time on paying back my student loans. There's somebody else who's responsible for paying that back. So you have all this student loan debt that is just piling and piling and piling and piling. And as we know that for the first time in U.S. history in recent years, that student loan debt has surpassed consumer debt. So we just talked about how you accumulate all this credit card debt. You're starting in high school, just racking up debt after debt after debt. Now we're going to school, we're advancing ourselves, we're educating ourselves in all these different areas, but now it's costing them more and more money each year tuition goes up, each semester it goes higher and higher and higher. And unfortunately, scholarships aren't covering the full cost anymore. They're giving you partial scholarships here or there. So people are left, holding the bag, and you have to go back to school to get a degree, to get a job that's not guaranteed.
That's not guaranteed. And even worse is there's people who already go into this 4-year university, and then they have to get more education, but then they still need to have a job, and they still have to balance that. And then there are people who are going back to school just to pick up a certification. You think certifications would only be like $500, $1,000?
Not at all.
No, they're like pushing 10, 12 grand.
Yes.
And then what's even worse is when you get done, you're still not even guaranteed. And so funny that you're talking about, going to college. We actually also have the college prep program where we help people at our branches with preparing for college. It's not about getting into senior or junior or even sophomore year. You actually have to start preparing your kids for college at the age of like 7th or 8th grade. What is that, 12 or 13 years old? Not only is it more competitive, but it's not just about making good grades. And we really help you with that and understanding all the other fees that go along with it. So coming out beyond the workshops, we also help families prepare their kids for college financially, to how we can prepare at the age of 12, even as small as 5 years old, to where we don't have to go into college already with debt, where we come out with, minimal to no debt, having people pay for it, such as scholarships, knowing where to go, how to apply yourself, and really being the best you. Because
and most importantly is knowing what you want to major in, right? A lot of times, I'm sure everybody has a story in which you're in school with someone and they're a sophomore and they still don't know what they're gonna major in,
Right.
So you go in, you take tests and you do different things to find out exactly what your interests are, so that you can go to the proper school for that. A lot of times we go to the popular state school here in Texas is either University of Texas or A&M. You have to choose these things, but you can go to the school.
And they're not cheap schools either.
Exactly, and you can go to the school that's going to be best for what you're going to study. Right. And then you get the most out of it. So College Cafe, another affiliate of the Houston Housewives of Finance, and as you said, we do have our college preparatory courses, and that's on Saturdays?
Yes, that's every third Saturday of the month. Every fourth Saturday. We have so many platforms out here,
true.
And we can share them all with you. Just give us, as you say, a DM or a ring or ping us or whatever. But we have a slew of things. But yes, it's every fourth Saturday.
Yeah, so fourth Saturday, again, contact us so that we can send you to the right financial center in your location, so you can go out. And again, it's for your second semester of 8th grade all the way up into your senior year of high school. If you have yourself, little brother, sister, cousin, niece, nephew, have them come out so they can find out exactly the best way to prepare for college, because there's still a lot of first generation college attenders out there, and unfortunately your parents have good intentions, but they haven't went through the process, so they're unable to prepare you for that. And they're
not prepared either.
Exactly.
I mean, we hear that college is a lot, but what is a lot? That's not a number.
Right? That's not a
no, that's not a number.
So true.
Oh, well, I did this and I did that. But you need to have a path, and you need to have a vision of where you're trying to go. You really have to be very intentional. And so even though we tend to stay younger longer at this rate, because we're 20s learning a lot, still in how to be adults, we're also having to learn how to manage our finances at a very young age. And so we really help everyone across the board, parents, students, people who are out of college, people who are going in college, because money affects us at all stages of our lives.
That is absolutely true. As you know, you don't get one-on-one guidance from your counselor until you're a senior, and then she still has.
And I still don't even think that they can give you that type of guidance.
So many kids, they have so much things to do, and with that program, you sit down with someone dedicated to help you through the whole time. They're with you throughout the whole process, and there's a really huge success rate of people getting full ride scholarships or enough scholarships to cover all 4 years of their schooling, so which is very important. And it allows your parents to continue to save. It allows you to continue to save because you're not spending that money.
And the thing also about what we do is it is a family interactive thing because we are all affected by it. You know, the parents, the grandparents, siblings, even the generations that come after you, because this knowledge is shareable. You have to apply it, though. There's no use in learning something if you don't do anything with it.
That's absolutely true. So speaking of saving, right, did you know that 66% of millennials have nothing saved for retirement, right? Right here it says, did you know nearly 1/3 of Americans pay the minimum due on their credit card each month? We just talked about not paying what's due, right? And paying ahead. We have something called a debt roll-up that you would go over. Again, attend our workshops. We have so much information to provide you. Follow us on our social media. Every day we provide you with very good content for you to improve your financial life each and every day. We're Millennials and Money on Facebook. We're Millennials_and_money on Instagram. We have a meetup page. We do so much. And if you can't remember that, just use the hashtag Millie, the number 2 Millie.
Millie to Millie.
And you can find us everywhere. Google us. We're available. So go out and get that financial Saving Your Future book, our blue book, to help you with your finances. But we have another article here from CNN Money, right? And it talks about the 66% of millennials have nothing saved for retirement. So as we talked, we previewed earlier about retirement, and we figure as millennials, we have time on our side. We have so much time.
We have time until we don't have time.
Exactly.
And a bad joke that we come across a lot is, oh, guess what? I have a savings account. Oh, that's great. Well, how much is in it? Nothing. Oh, well, that's not helping you out. Or, oh, I have money in my savings. I'm good. Well, how much are you saving in it and what's your interest rate? And understanding, you know, the wealth formula that has taxes as well as inflation involved in it. It's just like, okay, well, you're not keeping up with anything.
Yep.
And again, if you don't have enough saved, should something happen, like an emergency, i.e. emergency fund, or retirement, i.e. protection, then that's depleted. And then if you already are living beyond your means and you're trying not to let your credit go to the tank, as you said,
going to the toilet,
right, then, you know, you're still trying to barely make ends meet. It's a hard life to live, and it's a hard lesson to learn when you're on the other side, when you thought you had time and you've lost all that time, and when you're at retirement and you have to work when you thought that you wouldn't have to work, or when you have to depend on other people to take care of you, or when you're still taking care of other people.
So it's never too soon to start thinking about retirement.
No, it's not.
And it's not too late either. So don't feel as though, oh my God, I'm a Generation X or I'm a baby boom. It's too late to start thinking about. It's always the right time to think about retirement, but you want to make sure you take advantage of the time you do have available to you. So 66% is a huge number of millennials for us to be such a huge generation that's not thinking about retirement, that's not preparing for it. And I know that we live free, we live in the moment, we present ourselves, but you have more future available than you do the present. So you want to prepare for all that future, right? What are you going to do with all that future that you have available? So prepare for it the proper way. And that's setting up, again, a proper financial foundation and making sure that you have the adequate savings available so that you can get there. So right now for our generation, the millennial generation, at minimum, you're going to need $2 million in retirement funds.
$2 million. So I was not born with that check in my mouth, in my pocket, or nowhere. I don't know where that money is going to come from. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't even know how much it takes for them to retire. I mean, we haven't even thought about it. We're just trying to make it by, or we think that we're making good money. We finally have this job again until we don't.
Right? Yes. So with another automated savings thing is 401k. You talked about 401k earlier, and we're putting money into our 401k. Some companies are matching it up to a certain percent. I think now companies dropped it down to about 3% that they'll match you up to. So the important thing for you is to find out, what is 3% of your take home? What is 3% of your income? So you're like, oh, they're matching 3%. What is that number to you? Right? And you have to understand exactly what's a 401k and how does it work, because your money is being put into other investments and is being put into stocks. So there's a possibility for loss. So we have two rules with our company. Rule number 1 is don't lose money. Rule number 2, don't forget rule number 1. You don't want to lose money. So if your 401k has a possibility of you losing money, you definitely want to have another option available in which you have a better floor and more safety.
But then the great thing about this is you're saying, oh, you need to, they're matching you 3%, but really what is 3%? Because
Correct.
if you actually look at what your living expenses are, that's probably like 80%. And so if that job is matching you, not just does it match you, but how long does it take for you to actually get that money? And going back to us millennials, we're not staying in jobs long enough to even be fully vested. And unfortunately, that's 3 to 5 years that you need to be fully vested to even take home whatever that percentage is that they're vesting you up to a certain percentage of your check. And so then if you decide that you are in a tough place and you want to pull that, reach out to us, because we will tell you off top, and you're being told also when you take it out about the penalties and the taxes. However, we think, okay, well, we're just going to swallow that. But then when you get that other wave of taxes and you realize, oh, this may not have been such a good idea. And we're not always as in bad of shape as we think we are. Mm-hmm. It's not how much money that you don't have. It's how much that you didn't save. And so you just have to revamp your thoughts and change your habits, because all of a sudden those habits become your character. We're not saying don't live life. You just need to really revamp and think about how you live it and what makes what matters, what makes sense. Who are you trying to keep up with? Because, you're over here having fun, doing this and that with all these people. At the end of the day, you have to go home and you're the one that has to be stuck with these bills.
Yeah, and if you listen to anybody from the generations, Generation X, the baby boomers, the one thing, a common thread that they say, if I knew what I know now when I was your age, now you have the ability to do it, right? We have...
Right, I know now.
Yes, we have the world at our fingertips with our phones, with our computers. We can look up and find out anything, but yet and still we don't find out the most important thing to us, or something that we're going to need in the long run. We go to school to work for money. We work our tails off 50 plus hours a week for this money, but we're not responsible with it. We're not good stewards of what we have. And so you definitely want to come out, schedule a one-on-one consultation, do whatever you have to do. It's complimentary, aka it's free. We want to teach you how to be the best steward of the money that you have available, so that when you get more of it, because you're going back to school, you're getting advanced degrees, you're getting advanced certifications, right?
Yes.
We're young, gifted, and we're eliminating the broke part of it.
We're eliminating it.
And we want to make sure that you're doing the best with it. So go ahead and start preparing for that retirement and know your number. So when we say know your number, can you give them a little bit more insight on what that means to know your number?
Okay, so beyond finding me at my Gmail account, my phone number is, not that number?
Not that number.
Got
not
it.
That number.
Okay, so knowing my number is I need about $2.5 million to retire. And how did I get that? Very basic concept, which is called the dime method. I have to consider my debt, my income, my mortgage that I do or don't have, and the education that I'd like to have for my children in the future. And how am I going to cover all of that and retire? Because when I've learned about all these different concepts, I'm learning that as I'm getting older, I need to be increasing my money and decreasing my responsibilities. And so when you put all of that together and also put down the equation of inflation and taxes, which is between 3.5 and 5%, it's like, okay, well, I need to keep up and make more than that percentage and also save up to $2.5 million. How am I going to do that? That is my number. I like to travel. I'm not going to just retire at the nice age of, let's say 50, 55. And there's a lot of people out there, us millennials, that are, I'm going to retire at 30, 35. Retiring does not mean that you're not working. It just means that you're able to live comfortably and not have to clock into anyone. Mm-hmm. But how do we do that? Making even, let's say $50,000 to $150,000. I mean, you can't say that, because the more a lot of us make, the more we spend. And again, going back to, hey, what is your number? Because yes, you might be able to afford that 5-bedroom house, but is it really something that you need? If you actually had that blueprint of knowing what your number was, especially if you are in a relationship or married, then you guys will actually be able to say, hey, these are our values. It's nice to have this house, but there's also a lot of fees. It's not just about owning the house. It's not just about saying this is what we're doing today. It's about what we want to do in the future, what we want to do as a family, the things that we still need to pay off if you haven't even managed your debt.
And the important thing about retirement is prior to retirement, you're making deposits into your retirement account. You're filling up your retirement bucket. Once you're retired, now you're just making withdrawals. So how do you make it last? How do you make it stretch? Because we don't know when the day we're going to be called home, when we're going to leave this earth. So we have to make sure our income lasts. So once you're in retirement, your biggest fear is having more life than you do money. So you want to know how to make that retirement and put that into an investment such as an annuity or things like that. You want to make sure that money's stretched. So if you are fortunate enough as a millennial to retire at 30, 35, now how are you going to continue to make that money grow? How is that money going to make money for you? And that's knowing how money works. That's another thing that we teach. It's all about doubling. It's all about the rule of 72 and how soon and how fast can you make your money double to
and
reach your goals.
And even understanding the accounts that you have, because even if you are able to adequately fund your, let's say your 401k, just because it's something a lot of us know and a lot of us have, you need to understand when you're actually able to pull from it and when you need to take from it. Because I actually have some people that I have as clients, and they are very fortunate to be, 52, 53 years old, and they haven't touched their 401k. And you still get penalized. You have about 10, 11 years to pull that money. The IRS is coming for their money, one way or another. And so you need to know, hey, this is the penalty that I have if I take from this account too soon or if I take from it too late. And if you don't want to take it, where can you put it to where it can still grow? And again, that's something that Ahmad and I can help you with.
Yes. So please reach out. You can find me at ahmad.scott01@gmail.com. I'm on Facebook as Ahmad Scott. I'm on Instagram as Ahmad Scott. I'm in real life as Ahmad Scott. So wherever you want to look for me, you can find me there. You can find the rest of the Millennials and Money affiliates. You go to our page, our Facebook, Instagram, Meetup, or whatever. You can find whoever you want to relate to or you want to connect with, and we can have that meeting with you. It doesn't matter where you are. If you're sitting here in Houston, if you're out in California, if you're in New York, Chicago.
Right, because we're millennials.
Yes.
We do this technology thing. We do it
Correct.
very well. Find us on Facebook.
Yes. So
YouTube.
YouTube. Check out the YouTube channel.
YouTube.
So let's go to our my favorite segment of the show, as always, is the Millie Bag. This is where we answer the audience questions who asked that we help them out with a couple life situations. So we have an email coming in from, this one is from Kentucky. Shout out to Kentucky, the Bluegrass State.
All right, see, that's great. This is where we're hitting people
we're touching everywhere.
Nationwide.
Yes. So this young lady says that in my relationship, I've had financial infidelity. Ooh, that sounds big. Wow. So she says that my boyfriend has dipped into our joint account to buy things that we didn't prepare for. He spent money on going out with his friends as opposed to using the money for what it was planned for. What should I do in this situation? I'll let you go first, Cassandra.
Interesting. Financial infidelity is a money-related conduct that involves one spouse being less than truthful or forthcoming with the other spouse. Wow. Thank you for the education. So, unfortunately, I think for a lot of people, this is a conversation that isn't spoken about until it happens. Mm-hmm. And so when we had our conversation in February, was that episode 3?
Yes.
Yes. Episode 3, we were talking about even when you start dating someone and having these uncomfortable conversations about how you go about discussing, credit. And I actually had a few of those conversations, and it can be very open-ended. But it really does, just like, you go for love counseling, you need to have a financial counselor, because it's putting you guys, if this is something that you're going to do for the long haul, then you guys can't be saying, hey, it's more important that I go out for a drink if it's not something that you both have talked about, especially if this is a joint account. It's really unacceptable, and it can really be hurtful to the longevity of, your livelihood together, as well as, your financial future together, because those finances will break your relationship. You can love someone, but as I said in episode 3, what's love got to do with it? I'm not trying to be in the struggle of.
Whoa. Okay, so if you heard me in episode 1, episode 3, or anywhere else, you know that I'm all for doing the right thing when it comes to your money. And the right thing in this situation, young lady, is to for him to accept your apology, that you went off on him about this situation, and that just understand that if he took the money out, it was probably something that he talked about before and you probably didn't listen to, which happens a lot, where men talk, women don't listen, and then they come back and they bring up stuff from 2008.
Okay, so Ahmad, in all seriousness, there we go with the shenanigans again. You're not going to get me riled up. This is my month. This is Women's Month.
This is Women's History Month.
However, yes, Women's History Month. This is our month. But in all seriousness, there really does need to be a serious conversation. Because if it's something small like this, it won't just be a continuous small thing.
This is probably something that will continue. If the behavior like this, even with the child, if you don't address the behavior right away, it'll go to something bigger. So it goes from drinks just with the friends to maybe he makes a purchase for something, and it just gets greater and greater and greater. And when you're mixing money like that, you definitely want to be careful, and you want to be aware. You want to constantly know what you have. And that's something that a lot of millennials don't do. We don't check enough, right? We're afraid to check. We get anxiety. We get a headache. We get a stomach ache. But we want to know your numbers at all times, not just your retirement number, but also how much you have available in your account so that you have the adequate amount of income to pay for the things that you have to. So they need to set some boundaries and some clear rules and some non-negotiables.
It's called a budget also.
That too.
I mean, when you guys have this conversation, part of that conversation really does need to be like, hey, we may not have addressed this before, but this is where we're going in life, and we need to set a budget for these things. If this is something that we are going to do or you are going to do, then we need to have it clearly said, hey, this is the amount. Because you don't want to say, I'm going to pay this bill and that money isn't there. Because unfortunately, this isn't just a mistake or an oops, because this can be a habit that has started that can then be the tenure of your relationship.
And the big thing about it is that money could have been accounted for something else, and now you run the risk of putting yourself in jeopardy of having to go into debt, having to take out a loan, or you're back in a situation where you're pulling money from somewhere you didn't expect to pay something else. So you don't want to have financial infidelity with your joint accounts, but you don't want to do it with yourself. You don't want to rob yourself. You don't want to cheat yourself out of that money. We always talk about pay yourself first. So if you paying yourself first into your savings account, into some advanced account, you don't want to keep pulling from it and taking from it. And when you thought you had something, right, that word, I thought I had this, I thought I had that, and you don't have it available, now you're scrambling, now you're worried, and now you're creating unneeded stress to yourself.
Right. I suggest you call us for a consultation.
Definitely.
Seriously, the both of you, because this is going to be an open conversation. It's all going to be put out on paper, and this is the conversation that says, "Hey, we don't have this. These are our goals," and we say, "Okay, that's great. This is what your goals are. Are you on the same page with it? And this is how you go about this." Having, a financial future and a strong financial foundation doesn't mean that you can't have any fun. It just means that you just need to make sure that you have the proper foundation and know where you're going. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're just roaming aimlessly, and the next thing you know, you've overspent, and then you shoulda, coulda, woulda had
overdraft.
It, and you don't. An overdraft happens.
Oh my gosh, I hate overdraft.
It's just so unnecessary. So I hope we helped you.
Yes. So again, we're Millennials and Money on Facebook, on Instagram, on Meetup. Our email is info@millennialsandmoney.com. Send us an email there so we can direct you to our financial center in your area. We can set up a one-on-one consultation with you, which is complimentary, aka free. And then also, if you want to send in, add to the Millie bag, and we pull your question and read it on there, we can do that as well. But I'm Ahmad Scott at Facebook as well as Instagram. You can email me at ahmad.scott01@gmail. And Cassandra?
And I'm Cassandra Williams, also with Millennials and Money, Houston Housewives of Finance. And you can find me on Instagram as well as on Millennials and Money.
Yes. So if you're in the state of Florida, you're in the Orlando area, March 30th, please go to the Orlando Magic versus the Chicago Bulls game. You can see the Orlando Housewives of Finance there. You have a workshop. You sit down with them, and you definitely get sound advice. But on April 7th.
On April 7th, and follow us again on Facebook as well as on Instagram, because I will be in LA at the Clippers game.
So the Clippers Nuggets game, April 7th. You can find the wonderful LaShonda Johnson and the beautiful Cassandra Williams. They'll be there with our financial workshop and give you that information so you get your consultation there, and you can set up for future meetings as well.
Absolutely.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this this episode. This is episode number 5 of the Did You Know about these financial facts. So a big shout out to all the women out there. This is Women's History Month.
That's right. Let's keep making this magic happen. Let's keep taking over this world. Let's keep having pride in what we do. I mean, we really are the foundation, and we have a lot to share. We have a lot of love to give, and we have a lot of money to make. Come on, ladies, let's do this.
Yes. So again, you can follow us on social media, but also you can look at every episode of Millennials and Money podcast on our YouTube channel. So go to YouTube, type in Millennials and Money, and you can watch all 5 episodes and enjoy. Share it with your friends. So this episode, like it, share it, go and follow us. Thank you, and you guys have a good night.
Good night. Good job.
Yeah.